are still held prisoner.
Of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Maksym Sytnikov, Open Dialogue Foundation. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the Open Dialogue Foundation is an NGO with 10 years experience of protection of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law in the post-Soviet area. Today I would like to focus your attention on the situation with freedom of expression and media in Kazakhstan. Since the last Human Dimension implementation meeting, we do not observe a progress in this field. Freedom of expression in Kazakhstan is still very limited. Kenjibek Abishev, Almat Jumagulov, Ablavaz Jumayev, Aset Abishev, Balathan Junusov, Serik Zhahin were jailed for criticizing the authorities in social media. Few years ago, Kazakhstan shut down all local independent media outlets. Journalists of Radio Liberty and Current Time, who are covering protests and politically motivated trials in Kazakhstan, are prosecuted, face obstruction, arbitrary detention, administrative punishment, and expulsion. The reaction of the editorial office of Radio Liberty in Kazakhstan on these violations is disappointing. Journalist of Radio Liberty, Sania Toyken, was detained 5 times from the beginning of this year. Journalist of Current Times, Svetlana Glushkova, was detained twice during the protest against renaming of Astana in March. This is a picture of Svetlana Glushkova, and this is how the freedom of media in Kazakhstan looks like. On the day of presidential election, on 9 June, and during the following 3 days of mass protests, at least 12 journalists were detained in Kazakhstan, despite the fact they performed their professional duties. Police interrogated them and deleted their video footage. As a result of forcible detention, correspondent of the France press agency, Chris Rickleton, suffered a hematoma under the eye. On 6 July, at least 5 journalists were detained during mass protests. The editor of Uralsk Week journal, Lukpan Akhmedyarov, was convicted and fined. Kazakhstan misused migration mechanism to expel Ukrainian journalist Alexander Gorokhovsky, French journalist Vincent Prado, and journalist from Kyrgyzstan, Jazgul Egemberdieva, from its territory. The Open Dialogue Foundation demands all OSCE participant states to condemn violations of freedom of speech, media freedom, rights of journalists in Kazakhstan. We ask OSCE and the European Union to activate its missions in Kazakhstan. We also ask embassies of the EU states in Nur-Sultan for visa support for Kazakhstani human rights defenders who apply for participation in international events. It is regretful that today the Embassy of Austria in Nur-Sultan refused visa application for human rights activists Bota Aljanova and Aliya Isbasarova. We consider it is a barrier for free information exchange that would allow to know the truth about Kazakhstan. We appeal to the US government to make a constant monitoring of the work of the editorial office of Radio Liberty in Kazakhstan and to demand from the government of Kazakhstan to stop prosecute journalists. Thank you.
Thank you. And I understand that there is not enough space at the table, but please sit behind the table which says civil society.